Welcome back to SehoPod, everyone. I am Seho Lee.
I'm not Seho Lee.
And this is Patrick Mills. The last time I uploaded an episode was, this is the first episode of 2025. So the last one was like 2 months ago or a month and a half ago. And that was before winter break. Had a lovely winter break. Now I'm back at school. And I just haven't gotten around to making one of these. But now I'm in Florida, South Florida. Not back in school. Well, yes, but I'm here for less than 24 hours with Sir Patrick Mills over here. First off, how are you doing today? How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, dude. We had a good time solving problems. And I'm returned to normal,
Yes. So
you gotta stay calm.
Allow me to explain how I'm here. So, and Patrick, you can fill in the details as well. Patrick and I have never met before in person until today, February, 12th, 11th? February 12th of 2025. But we were familiar faces to each other the end of the last school year when Patrick graduated, and then got a hold of each other probably through social media. Patrick always had very kind things to say about the photography that I was producing. And then finally got around for a FaceTime call just 2 weeks ago on a Tuesday. I was in Lower, Patrick was here in his parents' home in Florida. And we had a lovely chat about life, about what's going on with photography, and I asked a lot of questions to Patrick about photography, to which he was very gracious with his answers and his advice.
Too gracious.
And then,
can't stop.
and at the very end of the call, right before I'm about to move on with my day, Patrick proposes me this idea of coming to Florida from a Wednesday to a Thursday, which is now, to shoot a construction event.
Yeah.
With a company that he's been working with.
We're building things.
So Patrick tomorrow will be doing videography, and I will be doing photography, and together we will be doing videography and photography.
Cheers to that.
So that's how I'm here.
Man, you should do audiobooks. You're so good with it.
Audiobooks.
I would be so tuned in.
I don't know if I have a great voice though. Like, I have some friends with some really nice sounding voices.
Well, they think you have a nice voice.
Oh. Maybe. Well, thanks.
My brother, I have this friend called Mikey Schaefer. Shout out Mikey Schaefer. And my brother met him one time, and he knows him as the guy with the good voice because he has such a good voice.
Interesting.
So.
My friend, shout out Joseph Gilhooly, who's my friend. I was mentioning my friends earlier from high school. So Joe has been my best friend since sophomore year of high school when he comes to BC. And dude is wicked talented. He's an actor, singer, performer. That's how we met in high school. But he has a great voice. Like, just his speaking, obviously his singing voice. Like, that's how I'm trying to be, but
Like Morgan Freeman or like auto commercial or neither?
No, I don't. Yeah, Morgan Freeman and auto commercial. That's like very deep.
It's a crazy binary.
Yeah. But I don't know if I could never quite get there. But just like, I don't know, a pleasant speaking voice would be nice. Do you think you have a nice pleasant speaking voice?
Sometimes my voice sounds like I want it to. Sometimes it doesn't. But I've realized through talking to the internet sometimes that, I don't know, you just gotta sell it. You're enthusiastic or you're not, and it really shows,
Yes.
So
Sweet.
Yeah.
Allow me to introduce Patrick Mills further, and you'll fill in the rest, because honestly, there's a lot I don't know about you. So Patrick recently graduated from Boston College, where I am currently a sophomore. So you're a class of 2024. Patrick
barely just made it under.
Yeah.
Just made it through.
Patrick is from South Florida.
Yes.
Born and raised.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And Patrick is currently working as a freelance videographer and photographer, post-grad. Patrick, during his college days, did not precisely, but similarly what we're doing now, as in attach a mic to a whimsical object and talk to people and produce content that would be engaging for the masses. Is that correct?
I can't speak for the masses, but I had a good time meeting strangers and chatting with acquaintances.
Totally. I guess I'll just jump straight into it, and I guess you can fill in the rest. You briefly mentioned that you have wanted to be a videographer, photographer. I don't know if this would be offensive to you, but content creator. Would that be accurate?
I don't know.
Like your desire?
I don't know about the last one, but like
if you were to encapsulate beyond just like videographer, photographer, like how would you define what you have aspired to be since you were 14, right?
Oh, before 10,
oh,
10,
dang. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I think at an early age I I picked up a camera. I was homeschooled. I had a lot of free time on my hands, and I think it was like that time in the internet when people like Casey Neistat were really starting to take off in like 2013 to 2015 when he started daily vlogging, and this sort of like archetype of man who travels and is sort of reckless and like has camera and does camera and gets paid somehow. He was getting paid like crazy, like $30,000 from Nike. I mean, he was already, I don't know, a decade into his commercial career, but
yeah.
Just for example, it was becoming like a thing. And I think because I was homeschooled and my parents aren't exactly like conventional. I mean, my dad has a job and my mom is a self-employed travel agent. So a little bit of like my mom's like immigrant ethos, travel ethos. Like it's always been kind of like, never been like steered to the professions, you know? So I was sort of like, yeah, it's sick. I want to do that.
Yeah.
Long-winded way to say it.
Yeah. Like so was there a specific moment that you realized like, oh, I want to do this?
I don't know. I was just having fun with it until I got in front of people and then people liked it.
When did you start having fun with it?
2012, I put myself in a Diary of a Wimpy Kid commercial in the green screen. Like I would sit on the green screen and like put myself in the commercial. I had Final Cut for free trial. I still have a ripped version of Final Cut, you know, like
let's go.
You know how it is. And I was like, well, this is so fun. This is so, you know, modular and customizable and stuff. But I didn't have any friends for like that whole decade.
Like as in like middle school, high school?
Before middle school, like late elementary. Like I have one friend, Christian Miller, shout out.
Yeah.
And he would make stuff with me. We would make videos for the internet. And like that's the energy I'm trying to channel.
Yeah.
Make things.
Yeah,
with your friends.
Were there any other influences like growing up beside your parents and like certain figures online like Casey Neistat who influenced you, like who were kind of leading you on this path, or things that were leading you on this path?
Yeah, there was this guy called Tim to the Wild. He does beautiful stuff. He still does, I think. Will Derbyshire, Ellis, this guy called Ellis. I don't even know his last name. He doesn't make videos anymore. But it was like this idea that they were making these visually beautiful YouTube videos, and I actually knew nothing about like if it was their line of work or not. But it was just the idea that these guys were buying like cinema cameras and just ripping it like on vacation or something.
Yeah.
And I, you know, gradually moved away from the travel video thing. But like that I think those were my early inspirations in that category.
Yeah. What was your first like in your head legit camera that you had? Like when did it feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing this?
I had this Sony, those cameras with like the built-in fixed lens that zooms like 20x.
Yeah.
And it did 1080p video, but it did AVC HD, which is like, I literally never found out how to like encode or open it up, or I just didn't want to use the software that edited it. So
you're just taking videos.
I just got a different camera, I guess, or I shot on my phone or something after that. But yeah, And then I got this 4K, like the Lumix G7 was 4K in 2015.
Yeah.
And it cost a bag, and it costs like $500 now, but
Yeah.
that thing I went crazy on.
Yeah, dude.
But I think it's, as they say, it's not about the camera.
Yeah.
It's about the stuff. It's about the passion.
Right. Before we dive even deeper into this, was there anything else going on in your life at this time that you like?
Nothing.
Any other passions arising in you or interests? Like this was it?
Electronic music.
Okay.
Like back when it was like kind of uncool.
Yeah.
I mean, down here in South Florida, like the Ultra Music Festival thing was happening, and I obviously millennials were into electronic music, but for people our age, like, talk about Deadmau5 and Skrillex at school, like they're just gonna like laugh at you in the corner. Yeah. And now now they're listening to them,
names,
and now Fred again, and it's like it's like the same thing, different font.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like EDM became hot again like 2 years ago, I feel.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I feel like during college post-pandemic, the house
Yeah.
the house music thing really took off.
Right.
But I mean, the tropical house, like 2015 moment, like Kygo and like all the pop music, kind of that Trump era EDM, like that was such a. I was mad at the time because I was like, I've been here,
right.
But then I was like, whatever.
'Cause I knew
started
about
liking rock music.
I knew about that era because my older brother, who was in middle school, he was super into it.
Yeah.
So he would put me on, like me as a 5th grader. But yeah.
You need an older brother.
Yes, that is true. You have an older brother.
I have an older brother, famously.
And how did you need your older brother growing up?
Well, I mean, my older brother actually wasn't the like archetypal older brother in that he was actually keeping me out of trouble instead of like getting me into trouble or putting me on.
Yeah.
He was putting me on other things. I guess there's no like right, you know what I mean? It's like there's no right thing. It wasn't, I don't know, like musical theater and I don't know, dissecting rap versus like scholarly, you know what I mean? Like instead of like substance abuse at an early age. So,
Yeah.
I think I made it out all right.
Good. Yeah.
Great thing to have.
And just one more question about family. Like, what was, what were family vibes, dynamics growing up? And you're talking about, your parents and this family vibe of like not doing the traditional thing growing up. Like, how did they encourage or discourage you? Like following this path of like I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Great question. I think I was very like typical gifted child thing where it was like, all right, we're gonna check the grades every week, and at a certain point it just became evident that doing something kind of off the beaten path was also encouraged, or even more so encouraged. And it's like, okay, keep the grades good enough, keep the grades up enough, but like be your own thing and be your own person. And I feel like that's such a good balance, because if I was too much of either one thing, I feel like I would really I don't know, I would be pretty unhappy with the outcome.
Yeah.
Too much of a degenerate or too much of a scholar.
Yeah.
Too much of a disciplined scholar.
This is kind of jumping ahead, but like you said, in that decade, like that first decade of your life where you had no friends, right?
It's like the middle decade.
Yeah. Like how much?
Like 3 years.
How much did you care at that time? Because you're like passionate about doing your own thing. And then similarly, this is why jumping ahead, like in college when you felt like your freshman, sophomore years, like you were, again, like you knew that you're going to do your own thing, but you also said it was like not the best social time. And obviously like COVID happened and there were those factors as well. But how much were you like in that early stage of your life and then later on in your life, like committed to the idea of like, I'm going to still do me versus like having the desire to compromise, be like, no, but I want friends. I want to be liked, whatever the case may be.
Well, I think I appreciate the amount of credit you're giving me, but I think there was not, besides being bullied at the age of like 10 or whatever, there was never a significant amount of adversity in my life about doing typically doing your own thing or doing something unconventional or kind of rejecting the 9 to 5 is very like it's a statement because your parents or your friends or the authorities are telling you like, get a job, kid. Like
Right.
my dad's like, whatever you do, like don't get a job, because then you have to like report to someone, you'd be scheduled, and like if you can somehow make it on your own where you decide your own schedule, obviously that comes with a lot of risk. Like obviously I'm not making as much as any of my salaried friends, but I'm not working that much and I'm having a pretty good time. I don't know, there's a point where that becomes like pathetic and you don't really want to be that for 10 years, but
Yeah.
for now it's like maintain control and then also just put my head down and build. So all that being said, I don't know, I think high school things just got better. People had specific interests and people were excited to share specific interests.
Yeah.
And I made music friends like I always wanted, and like
Nice.
it turns out more people around me were into things, and like you always look back and see like, oh, these people were cool. I was just too afraid to like be vulnerable with them or engage with them. And so
Yeah.
yeah, almost every time you like look back on,
What was high school like for you? What did you do? Who were your friends?
my friends were sort of like theater kids sometimes, sort of like AP class kids sometimes. Great people. I see a lot of them on a quarterly, like a seasonal basis. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, if I'm going to be in Gainesville, I'll see Anna, or if I'm in Tampa, I'll see Cole and Brandon or Tim, and like, you know, just knowing where people are. Why not? There's so
Yeah.
much lore. You were in theater, right?
Yes, that's true.
And so like the amount of time you spend,
Yes.
like the
with
amount
those
of
people,
stuff
yeah,
that
totally.
happens, and like the amount of like cross pollination, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Like there's so much lore. Tell me about the theater experience for you in high school.
Yeah.
You got to cut me off.
No,
I'm
you're
saying
good.
too
No,
much.
this is what I do. I keep asking questions.
You're really good at it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, high school was a lot to do. Like my high school experience has a lot to do with theater because you know how much time goes into it, and so like in my school, there was a fall play and a spring musical, and those were the only productions going on at those times. So like everyone who did theater was working on the same show at the same time. So it was very like, and my high school. Like where like around where I am, it's a big deal. So I mean, my high school is like 1,100 kids, right?
Wow.
But let's say within the theater community, like at least, especially for the spring musical, we called it an all-school musical. Like there must have been 100 different kids involved in it, like putting in their contribution in one way or another. And then the people who are always around was like around like 50 to 60. So a big group of people who are like very committed to this, very like for this, and yeah. So like I discovered in middle school when I moved to that place, and like in the 7th grade, in the 6th grade when I first came, I did crew, like I did lighting because I was like, oh, this is a nice way to like be chill but like still be in this.
Yeah.
And then it was the 7th grade when I saw what the show was. It was The King and I saw like the people who were going to audition, and I thought to myself like, if I audition for this, I can probably get the lead, because I've had musical experience, and like I thought I was a capable singer and performer. I'd never acted before, but I was like, I could do this, and then so I did, and I got it, and then like since then it was like very much like quickly found my stride in it, quickly found I had a natural ability and like talent to do it, and then in high school where it was like even more this upgraded version where like. When I was a freshman, I saw these seniors, and I was these people are so cool, and it was like that year was awesome, and that like first all school musical experience. Thankfully, I'm glad that I also had a balance of friends outside of that, because I think in anything, not just theater, but like if you do something with the same people too much, especially in like at an age like high school and college where like a lot of drama or like tension is bound to happen, where like you don't really know like at that age or at that maturity level how to quite like navigate through those things. There was also a lot going on socially. For example, like my high school, like again, like doing theater, yes, we were still like theater kids, but like it was more cool because, for example, during the musical season, we had like a party every week, like someone hosted a house party. So it's like, yeah, like we're cool kids, like we're like we're sociable, we're like we do cool things. And so those were like a big deal, and I could go on and on about the weird and random stuff that happened at those things. But all those things considered, it was very much like, yeah, it was just community. It was fun. It was friends. And so that definitely...
Every week?
Every week, yeah.
Wow.
Every weekend for like...
We had like one.
Every weekend for like 8 to 10 weeks. Yeah.
Man.
But yeah, definitely informed my social experience, especially going into college. Like I longed for that type of like community again. Yeah. Back to you. Your high school experience.
Did you no, sorry, I'm just processing.
No.
Did you find, you said, so then coming to college you were longing, have you found, that was sort of the framework for like connection with a large number of people?
For sure, yeah.
And how does that lead to a lot of disappointment when things don't go that ideally?
Yeah. I mean, thankfully I haven't been disappointed, so
Okay.
I'm really glad. For starters, so the transition into college, I was like very thoughtful about that transition and like mindful of like what I wanted it to look like. And for me that meant prioritizing my faith. So I was like, okay, like for example, for community, like I'm gonna find Christian community because I didn't have that at home. You know, like my dad is a church pastor, but it's a very small Korean church. It's like 20, 30 people. No one my age. There weren't like that many Christians where I live. So I was kind of on my own, which, you know, didn't help at all. Like I wasn't really walking in my faith. But I realized that was super important. And like in this transition, in this new place, new world, new me, like this is what I want to focus on. And so, but also, you know, theater, I knew that I was going to do it and be involved in it. So like as soon as I got to school, I did theater all freshman year. Wonderful community at BC. But at the same time, I was prioritizing, okay, like Christian community. So I looked around like the Protestant groups on campus and then came across a group called Chi Alpha, which is an international ministry. Like they have chapters, so to speak, at all different schools. Really connected with, so at the time there were 3 full-time staff, now there are 2. You know, like their job is to run Chi Alpha at Boston College, which is great. Like, you know, that has a lot of benefits over a lot of student organizations that are like fully student-led, which is like, you know, that creates like full-time jobs for them. But yeah, really connected with this group Chi Alpha, and also like found a local church that I really connected with. That church is called Grace Fellowship Church in Newton. So those were like primarily my communities. And then at the same time, me being very social, like liking having a lot of friends. And, you know, in high school, I come from a small town where like it's 5,000 people. I went to regional public high school, so 4 towns went to the same high school. So after freshman year, like I felt like I knew everyone. And it was also like not like in high school, it was not a thing to like be friends with kids in other grades. So like once I knew my grade, like that was it. So like I itched to make new friends, and a lot of them. So for example, like summer orientation, like I must have met like at least half the people there, interacted in some way. Wow. Like was very like all the time, maybe a bit too much. But I got that spark, and then coming into BC, I was like, I'm gonna do the exact same thing. So then there was like this informal community where I'm like really just connecting with people on an individual basis, and all of a sudden, you know, like BC has a lot of, you know, cliche stuff like this, which is true though. Like, you know, you're trying to make BC, you're trying to make the large community feel small. You're trying to find your kind of like, so like your pockets on campus, your belonging, your community. And I think just the way I went after making friends or meeting people, like made kind of help create that naturally, because all of a sudden I knew all these people who were mostly also similar to me, like eager to meet other people. And so now it's just this network of people who like are just like friendly,
Yeah.
sociable, personable people. And so I feel like that is also my BC community. All that to say, I've not been disappointed, and I have found that depth of community, if not, deeper, because, since high school I've matured and become more myself, so.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's good. Trying to think if I feel the same, that I've become more myself, matured. That's
Yeah.
an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah. Well, we can move along in the timeline of your life, which
what do I
now
gotta say?
leads to college, right?
You know what? We should relocate. These trees are looking super majestic.
Okay.
I think we should go over there.
All right. We're
Looks super
relocating.
whimsical. We're relocating.
We've moved locations. We still have our fruit, but now we have candles. Cheers to our candles. And we're by the trees.
Yeah.
All in the comfort of the backyard of the mills.
Oh yeah.
Where were we? Yes. Moving along the timeline of your life into college. My first question is, how did you end up at Boston College?
That's my question. I had been to Boston 2 summers prior, or I guess the summer prior to applying to college, and I really liked the coffee there. I really got into coffee in Boston. I was like, all right, it's a good city. I'd come back.
Yeah.
And so I heard there was a lot of schools there, and I applied to a bunch of them. And all the schools I applied to started with B. It was Boston, Bates, Babson,
Yeah.
all the Brandeis and all this stuff. And I just had to decide on one school to apply early decision to, and I just chose BC. I think I was going to do BC or BU, just kind of flipped a coin, tailored the essay to it that night, and then it worked out.
Dang.
But I don't know. I think if I had dug deeper, I would have chosen probably maybe something different. I don't know. It's hard to say. In some ways, it's just perfect. In some ways, I don't know. You just make a choice and you stick with it.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty arbitrary.
Yeah. In what ways was choosing BC the perfect choice?
I think it was sufficiently really good. I was like, yeah, this is great. This is high end. This is an accomplishment. But it also seemed I don't know if aesthetically or just it felt like a college, you know what I mean? I think as interested in cities as I am, I think my brother being at NYU, I kind of got to hear about how being in college in the city isn't the best.
Yeah.
And being on a, I don't know. So I think it just kind of fit the vision of what I always pictured in college. I was like, yeah, this looks like somewhere I could enjoy being for 4 years.
Sure.
But I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think about literally having to be somewhere for 4 years. You know?
Yeah.
Because you don't make those choices when you're younger.
Yeah.
You just kind of are placed.
Yeah.
And this is finally where you, at least most people, are kind of have some autonomy in making that choice.
Yeah.
So, what about you? How did you choose it?
I chose BC because I heard a lot of great things about it. I applied to Cornell early decision, got rejected, and I never had a dream school, nor was that a dream school. So when I didn't get into that, I was like, shoot, now I got to apply to all the regular decision schools in 2 weeks. So did all that, and then BC was among those top, among the top of my list because of just how many good things I'd heard about it from friends, from parents, friends, kids, to mutual friends, siblings, whatever the case may be. And Boston's super popular choice in New Jersey, in North Jersey, where I'm from.
Seems like everyone you meet there is from New Jersey.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that is true. So when I got in, I was weighing my options. It was either between BC or Wesleyan University, which is a small liberal arts college, very different vibe. So when I was weighing those two options, like BC was the clear choice. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to BC. I guess in that sense, it was for me similarly not a like a super like wow OMG moment. But since then, like BC has been great to me. Yeah, I love BC.
It seems like it.
Yeah. You said you were like at that age, like not thinking about. I forgot what specifically you said. So like freshman year, what were you thinking about? Like what was on your mind as a freshman, Patrick?
Man, I had started this little Zoom circle of friends on the BC 24 class 24 Facebook group.
Okay.
And we met on Zoom during the pandemic because everyone was super bored. And we became like close friends by the end of the summer, and then we got to school.
Yeah.
So that was like super strange to have coming into school, but I didn't have anyone else that I knew going there, so that helped, I guess. And those were my friends, but some of them I'm still like best friends with to this day. But others of them, like, I don't know, not so much. Like they just kind of fizzled out. That it was great to have that group of friends coming in. I started selling coffee out of my dorm the first week of school. That was such a blast. It was so strange to some people.
Yeah.
But it's like senior week and someone will have the knowledge that I was like the coffee guy. I'm like, that's great. It was good. It was really good coffee. So that's all that.
How did you make it?
That mattered. I made it with first a pour over.
Okay.
And then a Mocha Master coffee maker, like just a standard drip thing.
Yeah.
What was on my mind? I don't know, man. Just like doing what I wanted, traveling.
Yeah.
Ironically, even though it was the pandemic. This person I was seeing at the time, who I would see in New York, and kind of like, in a way, even though we were sort of remote, long distance, kept me sort of like socially reserved.
Sure.
So
yeah,
as much as you could blame the pandemic, you could blame that, you can blame everything, but it's like you make choices.
Yeah.
So freshman year had that uncertainty, had the social, sussing it out, and then had some splitting offs, and everyone's better off, but it's hard at the time.
Yeah. So then the COVID bubble is over. What, your sophomore year? Like it's like starting to be in person now, right? Like things are looking up. How did your lifestyle change at all? If during that change.
Well, I got super into photo that year, summer between those 2 years.
So before that, you were doing video mainly?
I wasn't doing much.
Okay.
In college, I wasn't doing much, but
okay.
I always was like trying to get in touch. But even the folks who were doing it, it was sort of like that's because it was their job. There wasn't a lot of extracurricular video going on. Maybe there was. There probably was, but I wasn't. I don't think I was persistent enough with it. I was thinking I would just like focus on school, major in something, get a big time job.
Yeah.
Like that was actually where my head was at freshman year. And then the summer after freshman year, I worked with this guy who was freelance back home in South Florida, and it kind of opened my world to like, oh, you can just do this. You can just choose to do this and just be good enough that people will pay you money to do this. And turns out you don't have to work all the time, but you ought to. You really should. So going into school, I've like having kind of wanted to drop out of school, but then knowing that that's really not the best thing to do, I was like, I'm just going to do this all the time, every day, shoot like 3 to 5 rolls of film a week. Yeah. Which is absurd. Like I don't know where I had that money from, but I shot a lot of film and put it out all the time, and it was sort of like to no end. Like there was no purpose for it. There was no incentive except that I really enjoyed it. And occasionally people really enjoyed it. And that was like my sophomore year, developing film by hand too, a little bit of that. Yeah. And getting into video, more structured. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you start work? When did the OUC, Office of University Communications, come in.
Oh yeah. Well, I had been a part of the Social Fellows, which is like the people who run the social medias. And I think like on as far as that office who runs that could know, I had been in touch with everyone I could have during the COVID year, and I'd been like, hey man, I'm really interested in video stuff, and they were like, we're not taking interns right now, but they interviewed me at the end of my freshman year, and then I came in sophomore year and would do these like event recap videos. And looking back, they're very simple, vertical, but they were shot with cameras, not phones.
Mm-hmm.
But it was my first time doing vertical video, and I was like, this is weird, man. I wasn't into it, but now I'm into it.
Yeah.
So into it. So that was how I got into that.
Yeah. When did that
Do you
like,
do video?
No, not at all.
What?
Yeah.
You're doing video right now?
I am doing video right now.
Is this the main outlet for your video? For
Yeah.
Your main avenue of video?
Yeah. But
Really?
even this I wouldn't consider it like video. You know.
Everything's video.
Yeah. Cuz I guess there's not much that goes into this video in terms of like actually producing the video, but also like me in my head thinking that it's video.
That's interesting.
Does that produce an interesting scent?
Oh, it smells like a bar where they're smoking some gnarly cigars. So
Huh, it does smell like a cigar.
like foul.
Yeah.
Like, not too foul, but like specific. Next, I'm gonna set the microphone on fire.
Smells like a grad party.
Grad party.
Yeah, because
Oh,
I remember
'cause they do
post
that?
high school. Because it's all of a sudden like these cigars appear because like these kids have never, me included, never smoked a cigar before.
It's such a strange. It's like a tradition, right? But it's such
Right.
a strange.
Yeah.
I would see that when I got to BC. I would see that on kids like
Yeah.
feeds from
From their high school. Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah. I've been thinking about video. I last summer got a second camera, which is a fun camera, which is a Fuji X-T30, and it's super fun to shoot on. It's like because it's small, it looks like a toy, and yet it produces like beautiful images and is so functional. But that shoots 4K. This one does not. It's a crop sensor, like same. This is a full frame, but this same sensor size, 26.2 megapixels.
Wow.
But this one's
You said it
DSLR.
looks
That
like
one's
a toy,
mirrorless.
but it shoots 4K.
Yeah.
Why does it look like a toy?
It's so small.
Oh.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But
Fuji's are great.
yeah, they're great.
I've never had a bad Fuji experience.
Yeah. And I copped it off of Facebook Marketplace for like that and the lens for $800, which is huge.
Wow.
And it was like it was all right used. Anyways, but that has like just that having like I don't know the specs that it does. It's not like a video camera, and it's not like a great one, but that has kind of got me thinking of maybe trying some stuff. But the stuff I'm thinking, and this actually leads to a question I wanted to ask you. That stuff that I'm thinking is like what do you call it? Like TikTok cinema, you know what I'm talking about? Like
Yeah.
where people just like set up a tripod and just like film shots of like nature or scenery, whatever it may be. Like, what are your opinions on that like form of quote unquote cinema?
I think I enjoy it like almost every time I see it. The only negative emotions I would feel, if any, are like, man, I wish I was doing this, sort of.
Interesting.
I don't like there's not a lot of my head that thinks like I want to be in either like the proper film world or the online aspirational film world, which is like people sort of going for the cinematic or whether they're legitimately going for it or they're just kind of cashing in on the word cinematic.
Yeah.
Which has been, like a
Yes,
decade
cinematic, yes.
but the thing is, the stuff that I don't have TikTok, but what Instagram will give me of the short form cinema stuff is beautiful. It's like eye candy. There's a guy I follow. I think it's like Awoza, Awoza or something, roughly. And if it's the one I'm thinking of, he does like these insane, like beautiful. He's in the Bay Area. It's like great stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's like people. I'm sure there's an avenue where you're making such good frames that someone with some authority somewhere or who's trying to make a project is like, I want you as my DP.
Yeah.
So if that's intriguing to you, make it.
No, I think that's a great perspective because I think a lot of people, the reason I wanted to ask you that is because a lot of people, I mean, I guess you're not so much into like film videography, but like people who are like, let's say filmmakers, or so I've seen on YouTube and the internet, will like frown upon this cinematic social media world that is erupting right now, because they look at it. I mean, I can assume that it's like, oh, where is the storytelling in this? Where is the creativity in this? Like you're just like, it's just stills, and yes, it looks nice, but that's like all there is to it, and like. And I think it also just because of like the virality of it and like the people like, because because my friends or people who know me know I do photo, they're like, oh, do you do video? And they're like, I say no, but then they'll start going on this like, oh my gosh, like I really want to make like cinematic videos, the ones I see on Instagram. Like I'm so into this. Like, can you help me?
I've never heard it. That no one's ever said that to me.
There's several friends of mine.
That's cool that people are aspiring to that.
Yeah, and I think that is my perspective as well. That like people are really like wanting to do this, and I guess that certain people will frown upon it because they are.
Yeah, I think the people frowning upon it are just probably like one of a different generation, and just like and two are probably just like bummed out that it's doing better than their project they put like 20 hours into.
Right.
Because it's probably frustrating.
Yeah.
Seeing these kids. I have these moments when I'm at like a show in New York and it's like, these kids, or especially in Boston when I would go to shows in Boston.
Yeah.
But so these like millennials or whatever who have been making internet videos for like a decade, and these kids just come along and like clean up.
Yeah.
And I feel like when something goes viral, there's like one of two responses you can have. Or, I mean, there's probably more, but in my mind, it's like, one is like, all judgment aside, like screw all that, like, this is incredible, this is so creative and novel.
Yeah.
Or the other, which is just like, gosh, I could have made that.
Yeah.
Or just like, oh, this sucks, like, everything that's popular is bad. It's like, come on, just like, I don't know, consume what you want.
Yeah. I wanna conclude my this timeline of your life here.
End my life right now.
Yes. The rest of your college experience, like, video, photo, passions, dreams aside, or included, like, what was the rest of college like for you?
College was interesting. I like rowed. I did the rowing thing. I saw someone from that the other day. So I got a variety of experiences, but I think my main thing was like freelance in college, which meant no one was paying me for anything most of the time.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say half the time. Early on, like, go shoot everything I wanted just out of curiosity, and then later on, like, will you pay me for this?
Yeah.
And learning to, like, stand up for myself and what to charge. And,
right.
I mean, college there's so many things to talk about. There's the work stuff. There's the social stuff. Very little school stuff, honestly. Genuinely, like,
what was
I
your
had
major?
some great classes. I was an economics major.
Okay. Yes, and you did say that. Yeah.
Like Professor Rutledge and Herbal.
Yes,
and
you're
like
talking about
those
them,
are my guys. Like, I love those guys. Rutledge is like was one of my biggest mentors in college, along with my philosophy professor, Chris Constas. And these guys, like philosophy and economics, like we would just talk about, not to sound corny, but just like talk about life.
Yeah, totally.
I think life in those two people's subjects in their domain, it's like economics, it's like, all right, life is full of constraints and opportunity costs. So, you get one thing, you give up another. You get a job, you give up the freedom and autonomy. You go freelance, you give up any semblance of stability and like, so that's just one example, but like in every single thing, my professor was just so receptive and encouraging. It's like, it's so great to have Gen X people being like, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Trust your gut. Like, did you have, do you are you tight with any professors like that?
Yeah. I guess the mentors, the people who I'd consider mentors in my life, like older folk at BC, are not primarily professors, but among professors, for example, last semester I took a theater class that was very popular among the theater students called Dramatic Structure and Theatrical Process. It's it's an introductory course for theater majors and minors. It's a play reading course primarily, but the professor who teaches it, his name is Scott Cummings, and just a wonderful soul. And we talked one time, office hours type chat, but it very much was like encapsulated what you said, like talk about life. And that talk lasted like 2 hours,
Wow.
In his office, just about life. In addition to that, in addition to that, I've just had like wonderful professors. But like I said, in terms of mentors, people who I would consider is the director and campus pastor of the Christian club I'm in. His name is Nick. Nick is we have a unique relationship where Nick is 31, so he is like at an age range where he feels like an older brother to me, a friend to me, but at the same time very much a mentor to me, in a lot of different ways, in like a generalist way, in obviously a spiritual way, but like, we're just very close, and I just really, really appreciate him and what he brings into my life. I am applying to be an orientation leader, as well as have just been in the first year experience office space a lot. So very much have a lot of respect for the staff and everyone who's in and
have we
around.
talked about this?
Maybe not.
Who is your... Wait, oh. Gotta upload before midnight.
Okay.
On my end.
Yes.
But keep going. Who are your friends in that office?
Well, I know everyone, the staff in that office now are Samantha, Chris Darcy, Phil. The GAs are Suha and Jack, and Emily Rayball. Phil I am closest with, I would say.
Phil's awesome.
Yeah, Phil's great. But yeah, Phil, for example, Phil is someone I just enjoy talking to and spending time with, and hopefully, so I find out about the OL position next Friday.
Whoa.
So hopefully if I get that, even more time with him and just getting to be a friend with him.
I hope you do.
Thank you.
They better not give it to anyone else.
Just me.
Just you. One orientation leader. 2,500 students.
Yes. Other mentors in my life at BC. That and it's really, Nick is one of them. Oh, all the people at my church. So the church I attend is called Grace Fellowship Church. I guess not on BC campus, but my life at BC.
Yeah, it's your BC.
At church, where a lot of, not so surprisingly, a lot of college students flock to churches where there are other college students, but this church actually does not have other college students. It's very much
At all?
Almost not
Or
at
at
all.
large. Wow.
Because it's not like most kids will go to churches that are like T-able so that they can like get there, but this church is kind of in Newton, and like I just happened to visit. That was the first church I visited when I got there, and since then, like very much just liked the church and its community. A lot of just like let's say people in their mid-30s to 50s, 60s, like, families, young kids, but it's a wonderful community. But the pastor there, his name is Bruce. He's been just an incredible, mentor person to me. And a lot of like cool opportunities arise from like the relationships I built at that church. For example, like hopefully if I get the OL position, I would be doing a part-time internship with a dude who's at my church, who does management consulting. Not that I want to particularly do that, but it's a cool business opportunity to explore. So yeah, like opportunities arise like that, and so like I'm really grateful. Yeah, so I guess short answer, like in terms of if you say mentor, my answer is Nick, the director of Chi Alpha. But there have been plenty, like a lot of influential adult figures in my life during my time at BC.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's a way more a varied answer, I feel like, than most students would have.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And like there's just a lot of like adults I'm connected to. So I guess in a sense I have a lot of mentors. Like for example, last week there was like a bunch in a row that I met and just like really connected with. The resident ministers of Vandy and 90. I live in Vandy. They're Sean and Millie. They're this young Irish couple who are studying theology together, and like they're so sweet. And I've known them since the beginning of the year, but like last Monday I finally just got to have like I guess 2-on-1 time with them in their apartment. They cooked me dinner and like we just talked, and like it was just super sweet. And then like the day after that, met my resident director for the first time, and she's also awesome, Fiona Kyola Claude. And we bonded over our mutual faith, but also just like, so now we're going to be friends. And then also, like the day after that, met with the VP of Student Affairs, Dr. Shauna Cooper Whitehead.
Yeah, Shauna's the best.
And she's awesome. And so we met, and now we're friends. Like there's these random, last week was a lot of those types of meetings that just all happen to align. But yeah, just like there are people that I like run into and meet and are just like awesome people, and it's definitely so valuable to have those like adult relationships in your life, especially as a college student.
That's I love that you had that week.
I
love weeks like that where it's just like you're meeting one new person after another. Whether students or people in administration and leadership positions. You're like shotgunning. It's like shotgunning. Shotgunning a banana. I'm sorry if the sound.
No. To the mic.
To the
yeah. That's all right. We'll. We don't even know how it sounds. We'll have to see. I wanted to ask about the conclusion of your college experience, just because I wanted to see if there's anything else you wanted to say about that, because I had, I guess, questions beyond that sphere.
Man, I don't know. I felt like senior year was like a bonus, like 3 years, even though COVID was kind of a wash. Like 3 or guess those 2 middle years were so like action packed. I don't know. Maybe I needed like a refresher my senior year, because looking back now, it's like I could have made more of it, but I don't know. I was just like, I was content. I was like really just living like a young adult, almost like I had already graduated.
Yeah,
that's strange.
Yeah.
But I got really close with some of my good friends. So
yeah,
and I don't know. I think then and going forward, like afterwards, I just got more and more fearless about just like reaching out and connecting with people.
Yeah.
It's like if we're if we're gonna get along, we may as well be friends.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess not so much senior year, but leaving senior year, being in like New York, there are people who I wasn't particularly friends with in college, just because people kind of like had their groups of friends who occupied their time, but like now we're all kind of like lost. Unless there are some folks who moved there with like a group of 10 friends. It's like, that's crazy. You're lucky for them, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Over the course of your 4 years of college, who did you become?
Who did I become?
Yeah.
Who did I become? Oh my gosh. I think at times I was the best version of myself, and at times I was the worst version of myself. I don't know about the worst. Pretty bad. Not bad, but just like, you know what I mean? Like, you impress yourself and you disappoint yourself, and I don't know. I think graduation wasn't that significant. I mean, it was great and all, it's a privilege. It's so awesome, but it wasn't like closing a chapter with pride. I'm like, oh shit, like we're about to get started. Like, we're getting started now. Like, if there's anything,
Yeah.
I don't like to look back and reflect as if there's any level of like success. If there's success, it's the friends we made along the way. Like, turns out it doesn't matter where or what, it matters who.
Yeah. That's an awesome response. I totally agree.
That's who I became.
My follow-up question to that is, who are you becoming?
I think it's hard to picture who I wanted to be in my like 20s, but I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know. Just a guy who makes things that he wants to make with friends. And then, make a living thing that's separate, but it's also not separate. Like, everything in my life is like kind of one. There's no separation of church and state for me.
Yeah.
Everything is the same, you know what I mean? Friends and work, and just want it to be all fluid.
Yeah. How has it been just being like a full-time freelancer, and not just like, I guess not just in terms of like video and photo, but I guess like the business aspect of being self-employed, running a freelance business?
Just generally, how is it?
What are the pros and cons for you?
Pros and cons. I think I'm really lucky that the environment I've been around, and quite frankly, my like parents in my teenage years inspired this like chill, laid back attitude in life with me. I think people who want to go freelance generally go freelance, and people who don't. You know what I mean? Like, it sorts itself out. But the pros and cons are, you're taking a risk, you're giving up stability, you could have a job. The idea is you're going to be making a better, not always, but if you're talking business, the idea is that you're aiming to make a better hourly or daily whatever rate, so that you can work less days per month and, like, I don't know, live more life. At least that's my sort of way about it. Like, obviously I want to make things that are great and beautiful, and meet people that are great, and share the things that we enjoy, and talk, and you'll meet a lot more people like that in freelance doing creative work than you will. Well, I don't know this because I don't work in an office, but I'm assuming
Sure.
that you'll meet a lot of friends to talk music with, to talk whatever, silly movies you've seen, or and just crazy like personalities too, you know what I mean? Like, I've met some eccentric. There was a BC guy, graduated probably like 1990. he was this wild, eccentric director who directed some commercials that I was on set for in freshman year, and he was just like into cryptocurrency and like super like almost like far right. it was like, you know what I mean? And people like that, you meet more people like that than you would if you weren't in this world.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not a very good explanation.
No, that's great.
You definitely gotta like roll with the punches. Can't freak out when stuff goes wrong.
Yeah.
Like this drone business.
Drone situation. You're talking a lot about people and like the friends you make along the way. What is like who are, I don't know how to phrase this, like who are people to you? Like why people?
Yeah. I feel like I have good times when I go somewhere or do something on my own, but there's so much more potential to have a way better time when you're sharing an experience with someone. And I think struggle in some capacity. Like this is why I like Spirit Airlines, because like you'll always have a laugh. Like there's something to laugh about every single time you fly Spirit Airlines, and it's also like $20. So, but I don't think I haven't endured much struggle at all in my life. But then you go to a school and you meet these kids who have never endured, like, you know what I mean? Like, I've never endured any significant struggle, but then you meet people who have like never heard a struggle, yet complain, and it's like, anyway. So at a certain level, you know, having fun with little material challenges, little obstacles to having a good time with friends is a great time. Going to like build a fire, but your wood's all wet or some shit like that. Like one time I was staying with my girlfriend in this yurt, and we had to heat the place by lighting logs, like wood on fire, and I was like, it was a little bit embarrassing the way neither one of us knew how to light this fire. And it wasn't very fun at the time, but I was kind of like laughing, you know?
Yeah.
Just kind of like, so I don't know. I enjoy people when people will just go along with, you know, whatever, just doing things in inconvenient way, just because it's like there's a better story there.
Yeah.
There's a better memory than if you did it by the books and
you
followed the map. Does that resonate?
Yeah.
Does that sort of answer the
why
people thing?
Yeah. I agree. I just like I think just being with people, connecting with people, building relationships. Honestly, I think it comes back to love. Like it is such a genuine love that is there for me, and a curiosity for people and wanting to develop a relationship with them and like make memories and experiences that will like lead towards love. And I think that is the most fulfilling thing. Like that is what I am after.
Yeah. There's a lot of love out there.
Yeah.
I have a lot of love for a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
It's really, I forget, it was like this video my family was watching where it was like these adult men being like, tell your friends you love them. And like, I guess the idea that that's like so hard for people is like indicative of how the culture or like masculinity is viewed and has played out. Like, have you been on YouTube Shorts?
Have not.
The masculinity stuff is crazy, but anyway, just like I've been like hugging I always hug my friends, but I've been saying like love you man when I say bye to some of my friends, and it's like I really do. It's great. It's just, you know, they're just like family. The amount of time you spend with them, the amount of stuff you can talk about.
Yeah. It is. I don't know if I'm sensing it or if I'm deciding, but I am sensing / deciding our conversation to close. I was wondering if there were any last remarks you had or any things you want to ask me.
How did you get so... How did you get so kind and well-tempered and friendly and approachable?
Kind, well-tempered, friendly, approachable. Thank you.
How do you respond to challenges? Because everyone has their own level of challenge.
Sure.
And decide to be like Seho, like be this incredible person.
Thank you. Growing up, my like one struggle, adversity in my life was that, like, growing up, my family didn't have a lot of money. Like, we've always been a low income family, and yet growing up, until like middle school and high school, when I started like comparing or like gained more social consciousness, I never knew that. And that's very much thanks to my parents and their faith, which obviously then they raised us in faith. But like, very much like, the only thing that matters is, like, the only thing we care, like my parents to us, the only thing we care about you guys is your faith, your love for others, and like your character and your heart. Like, that's it. I mean, obviously there's other things, but those are like the top priority.
Yeah.
And so that, combined with me just being like naturally really wanting to like be a friend to others and have friends and be sociable and always like strive to build deep relationships, like, those are my desires. And so I think to like cater to those desires, I like realized that those maybe qualities or traits you've mentioned are ways to like lead me down that path. So I think that, and then a lot of it, I just attributed to faith and like trying to humbly come before God and ask Him for wisdom and just good vibes and love to share, and doing so, hopefully I just continue to build meaningful relationships and continue down a purposeful path for myself, and hopefully to also return honor and glory and love to God who is love and who does provide for me, who made me who I am.
I think I when I meet someone like you and then find out that you're sort of living your life in the faith, it resonates. And because I went to a Christian school, there were a lot of people who were not giving God a good name out there. You know what I mean? The sort of the acting but it's you don't lead with the talk, you lead with just being a person, being a person to another person, and that shows through more. And then you find out that's going on behind the scenes, not here's why I am, and then the evidence is up front, and then the explanation comes second. Just the way you treat people and the things that you value. It's very clear.
Thank you. That's super encouraging, because I've been thinking a lot about that in terms of my faith and who I want to be. And the more I live and learn, the more I realize who you are, who you are, I guess, simplified in your actions, right? That is your actions are what you believe and who you are and what your values are, not what you say or claim, so So in a time where I'm thinking about that and trying to be intentional about that, that's very encouraging. Thank you, Pat.
I'm glad that meant something
Yeah.
to you, because it's a hard to describe thing. And I'm telling like my girlfriend, I'm like, hey, I'm hiring this awesome guy. Like you just have no idea. Bringing him down to Florida. We're gonna shoot some stuff, and because there's so many not awesome guys. So
Yeah.
it's good. It's refreshing.
Thank you. Appreciate that. What are we gonna do for your
My side quest.
Your side quest.
I don't know. I think let's see, what's the time?
What time is it?
27. Okay.
Oof.
I think something involving shotgunning a banana.
Okay.
It's kind of goofy,
Okay.
but I don't know how much other time and resources we have.
And it has to go up before midnight?
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
No one says that. I said.
Yeah. Right.
Commit to that.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
Shotgun a banana.
In that case, as I said before, I end every SehoPod episode with a prayer for my guest. May I pray for you during this time?
Yeah.
Please. Dear God, thank you for this time with Patrick. Lord, that he has graciously invited me all the way down here to South Florida, where he calls home, and just to have this time together. Yes, to photograph and to do that together and have so much fun doing that. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity. But also time like this, just to chat, get to know each other, have fun, make memories. God, I thank you for the kind and open person that Pat is, to just the way he admires people from a distance and has this level of trust to like bring someone like me down here to work with him, to be a friend. I'm just so grateful. God, continue to bless Patrick and watch over him as he continues to pursue this freelance career, but also beyond that, just like continue to figure out who he is becoming. And Lord, it's clear that he has a passion for people and a heart for people and wanting to, God, that it's all about the friends we make along the way. God, I believe that as well. And may he continue to pour in him a love, and may he continue to draw from you as a source of love to continue to love others better. Thank you for this time. May we have great rest, great time making this banana shotgunning video, and a great shoot tomorrow. Thank you. Love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Awesome.
Sweet, bro.
Cheers.
Cheers. That has been the latest installment of SehoPod. Any final words, Patrick?
If any of you friends are in New York, come say hello.
Sweet. That is it.
Make
we will
some
now shotgun bananas and sleep and get a drone tomorrow.
Get a drone.
And drive to the shoot. And then I will leave and go back to Boston.
And I will go back to New York.
Sweet.
What happens in Florida stays in Florida.
What happens in Florida stays in Florida. That is it. Thank you for watching. Until next time.
Nice to meet you.